Okay, so let's talk about utilitarianism. Utilitarianism it was pioneered by a guy named Jeremy Bentham. And there's a few different subsets of utilitarianism, but really it was all based around this guy and his view on ethics. Utilitarianism is what we would call a consequentialist theory, meaning it really concerns itself with results, with outcomes. You might have heard the phrase before, the ends justify the means. Basically, as long as whatever you're doing ends well, that's good. Okay, you could do a whole bunch of shady stuff in the middle, but if it helps people in the end, that's ethical, essentially, is what consequentialist means. So utilitarianism is consequentialist. They just care about outcomes. And as I said, it's really focused on society. It's focusing on lots of people, not just the person making the ethical decision. Okay, you can really sum up utilitarianism with this phrase: the greatest utility for the greatest number of people. Okay, the greatest utility for the greatest number. So what is that word utility that utilitarianism comes from? In this case, you can kind of loosely translate it into happiness or pleasure, things that are good, that we enjoy, that we like. Or you could also consider it the avoidance of unhappiness or pain, right? So what utilitarianism says is what's ethical is making sure whatever our decision is brings the most happiness for the most amount of people. Or oppositely, it gives the least amount of unhappiness for most people. It prevents that from happening. Okay, so let's go through an example here. So in this example, you are in charge of ordering pizza for a party of 10. Okay, and here we're going to go through some of the preferences. Okay, so here's the option. We have ham and pineapple. Out of those 10 people, 8 people like it, and 2 people, they kind of don't like it. Okay, but everybody they're just fine with pepperoni. Okay, so what's the ethical choice here? What would a utilitarian say? Well, a utilitarian would say pepperoni because, again, it's the greatest pleasure for the greatest number of people. Everyone's good with pepperoni, so nobody's having any of that displeasure, right? But if we went with ham and pineapple, yeah, 8 people like it, but there's 2 people that don't like it, so there's not as much utility, pleasure, or happiness with that choice. But there is with pepperoni. You get the most amount of people happy, so that's what a utilitarian should say is an ethical choice here. Okay. Now to change it up a little bit, what if 8 people really love ham and pineapple? That is their absolute favorite. They're craving it. They really want that ham and pineapple. But those 2 other people still just kind of don't like it. And then again, everyone's just fine with pepperoni. Well, now it's a little bit different. Now you can kind of quantify that utility. If 8 people really love it and 2 people don't really like ham and pineapple, well, maybe the utilitarian choice is ham and pineapple in this case. Because again, 8 people definitely is more than 2. And that absolute love for it carries a lot more weight than the general dislike for the other 2 people. So we can see that the amount of utility matters and not just the amount of people.